Namaste, beautiful souls, and welcome to this episode of Truth and Tarot Time, where we have guests, guidance, and tarot wisdom. And I am super excited this week because I have the lovely Dawn Smith with me. Welcome, Dawn.
Oh, thank you, Deborah. I am so excited about chatting with you
Yeah, me too.
and your
So,
beautiful energy.
oh, ditto, ditto, I want to say. Dawn and I met a few years ago now in Sarah Landon's masterclass and her community. And I'll put all the links to Sarah Landon's work as well in the description because we highly recommend it. And we've kind of stayed in touch through social media and mutual friends and things like that. And Dawn has recently been channeling some books. Now, the first one I have read and highly recommend, The Spiral of Remembering. But since then, another one's come out. How many have you done in total?
Two.
Oh, there is two now. Okay, wow. We're going to have plenty of time to talk about them. So I'm looking forward to it. So I'm going to do a little card reading and see what wisdom is coming through for us to discuss.
I'm excited.
What's for the energies? Can we have some heads up, please, on the energies at the moment? There's your three cards. One, two, three. Card on the bottom, always relevant. We have the King of Swords. And the King of Swords is the King of Air, which is communication, it's mental processes, thoughts, and beliefs. Kings, of course, are top of their game. So this is about being on top of our thoughts, mastering our thoughts, I want to say, leads to the transformation. We can see the butterfly here, that the transformation that occurs when we have learned to master our thinking. So we have another king, two kings straight away. Kings are top of their game. And this one is Pentacles. Pentacles is earth. Swords is air. I'm loving this already because we've got the element of air floating around, and we've got the element of earth wanting to bring it into an embodied state, wanting to connect it to the ground, grounding us. This is steady and stable and abundant. It's also coins. It's pentacles is kind of abundance related. It's often money, career, finances, but from our perspective, it's just abundance of it all. The message with the King of Pentacles is that everything he touches turns to gold. And I think that's quite relevant. But I think it's also relevant that we have this air element, the thoughts, the beliefs being embodied. So I like that bit. Oh, I'm loving. Oh my goodness me. Oh, we've got the Hanged Man, Major Arcana. The rays around his head show spiritual enlightenment. You're going to like this one, Dawn. Spiritual enlightenment. You notice that he's hanging there. He's seeing life from a different perspective. He's upside down. The importance of seeing life from a different perspective. The message with this card is don't force energy, don't force movement. It's a non-movement, a non-action card, but he's hanging from his tree of truth. And he's in his flow, he's in that solitude, silence, and stillness. And as we know, stillness is the access point to acceleration. So, very often, this doesn't mean that he's not taking action. What it means is that when he does take action, it's choiceless, effortless, and joyful. And it comes from his stillness. And I know you're going to have something to say about that. And I'm absolutely loving this because the last card is the world. This is the last major arcana. The major arcana are spiritual lessons in life. She's got the two wands that the magician has at the beginning of the major arcana, and the wands show that she has transformed, like magic. It's not magic, it's quantum science, we know, that she has transformed her life, and the whole world is her oyster. The universe is her playground. Oh my goodness me, I don't think we could have better cards for this connection that we've got, because the first thing Dawn said to me when I invited her to join me, she said, I would love to play. So we're looking at the importance of mastering our thoughts, the importance of embodying um, our energy, keeping it grounded. We're basically bringing that higher energy, that higher frequency into the physical realm, into our physical bodies, and through our physical bodies into the physical realm. And the importance of the stillness and of not not pushing. If you feel like you're pushing a rock up a hill, you're not in alignment. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Alignment is everything.
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely.
And that is completions. This shows a completion of our spiritual lessons. So that's kind of beautiful.
It is beautiful.
What do you
An
think about
absolute
those?
alignment. I feel like it aligns completely with my book, The Sovereign Self, because it's about being in the now moment, being in your power because you're in the now moment. It's about the alignment of the heart, the mind, the body, and the soul, and leaving nothing out. Everything is part of that alignment. If you leave something out, you don't, was it the world one that was the whole, the completion? Yes, to have every part of you there and in being in that alignment. Yeah, it feels very aligned with it.
So tell me more about how these books came about.
Well, my first book, um, The Spiral of Remembering, was magic. I was updating my website, which is something I absolutely love to do. I've had so many versions of it because it's fun. I love updating it. So I was adding something to it. And I think I started that on a Thursday. And I looked at my phone to see if it was Friday or Saturday because I couldn't really remember, you know how it is with time. And it was Tuesday. I had completely lost all those days. I was just having so much fun. And somehow during that period of time, I had completely written and edited, published this book.
Well, I think that
That
clearly
was not
shows
my
that
intention.
it's channeled. You were here,
Yes,
hanging from your
yes,
tree of truth.
yes. I don't really feel like my books are channeled. I feel like they're remembered
Ah, like
because
it.
I didn't go somewhere for this information. I have it all right already. I'm just remembering it.
Yes, I like that.
Yeah.
And so the sovereign self.
The Sovereign Self was, I started this after I finished the Spiral of Remembering because I thought I should write something about worthiness.
Okay.
So I spent months, and I don't have any idea how many versions of that book until I came to the last version, and worthiness wasn't even part of it because we are already worthy. When we have that alignment of the heart, mind, body, soul, our divine self, our human, all of that, they're all in alignment. Nothing is left out. There's no room for judgment. There's no room for, am I worthy of that? None of that fits. It just doesn't fit.
I totally agree. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because when we're in this place of stillness, allowing that remembering that you're talking about, allowing it to just unfold, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like our destiny unfolding, isn't it? And our souls, I have this belief that our souls have a blueprint for this lifetime, and if we just let go, it's already in us. And that's why is like we say it comes through us, but actually you're right. It's coming from in us, isn't it? But it's coming from, wouldn't you say it's coming from the highest part of us.
Yes, yes. And we reach that highest part, that perspective of that highest part from the now moment, from the stillness.
Definitely. And that's what the kings represent because kings are top of their game. It's that, the highest part of who we are. Um, but in our human state, we don't really know what's in there to come out. And I can understand the why worthiness becomes an issue. Yes, of course we're already worthy, but for me, I think it's because, like, even if you went back 5 years, I couldn't fathom what I'm doing now. And if you went back 10 years, I definitely couldn't fathom. I'm often saying when I work with a lot of people that don't understand how they can support themselves through doing what they love. And I understand that because if you had told me 15 years ago that I would be supporting myself now reading tarot, I would have just laughed in your face. And I think a lot of what we do now, first of all, we're pioneers, aren't we? Because we were not taught any
Yes.
of this at school. We weren't prepared for this. But also, it's so glorious, the journey that this stillness allows to come through us, or allows us to remember. Um, but it's getting bigger and bigger. It's like going with the flow. So we've been going with the flow for ages, right? But I was thinking the other day, is it me or is the current in the flow getting really strong? Because I'm just like, things are happening. And yes, I trust the process. I trust the process. So it's not a problem. But I can understand why that unworthiness comes up because it's like, oh, little old Deborah's doing X, Y, Z. It's like, wow, and it's that looking at the little self. Do you see what I mean?
I think most of that comes from how we were trained, how we were taught, and how the people that were teaching us were taught, and how they were taught, and how they were taught. It was, you know, you have to work hard. You have to do everything. And you have to deserve what you get. And you do that by working hard and being perfect and being the most beautiful and being the this, the that. It, when you do all that, you might be worthy. So
Yeah.
silly.
Yeah. And also, and it is without judgment, isn't it? Because
Mhm.
as you know, I work with emotional healing, and it's very easy for people to say, sort of like, oh yes, I have this issue because of my upbringing, because this parent or that parent didn't treat me right or what have you. And even though they might not be saying it directly, there is this kind of undercurrent of blame going on. And like you said, everyone's just following what they've been taught. And a lot of people, we're parents ourselves. So, we know that, you grow through parenting, it's not like, um, so we don't want to judge, any of that programming that we were brought up with. I think that's really important because when we do that, we're actually putting ourselves in victim mode, aren't we?
We are. I sometimes when I think about that, how we were taught or trained or and not really knowing where it came from. I think of a story I heard once about a mother and daughter going to buy a ham, and they had the butcher cut it in half, and the granddaughter said, "Why are we doing this?" Or the daughter said that, and the mother says, "Well, because my mom always did." And so what they asked their mom, and their mom said, "Because my pan was too small." And so it's just the silly ways that we think things are. This is the way they are, but when we look at from the grander, higher perspective, it's a choice.
Exactly. I mean, he's looking at it from an enlightened perspective. But, I remember so many times, I mean, even now, my parents and sort of, some people that I know, the older generation, I guess, very often they're like, oh, that's just the way it is. You can't change it, and it's like, as long as I can inhale love, I can change anything.
Yes, love is the most powerful force in the universe. Yes.
Because we're not changing. Well, the outside changes when we change the inside, right? We're not changing the outside. It's that prayer of serenity, isn't it? It's about changing ourselves so that we can access that remembering. I want to use the word remembering because you're so right with the title of your book and the way it was structured. And it really, I have to say, yeah, links are in the description. I highly recommend Dawn's book. I haven't read the second one. I've only read the first one. But it's one of these books that isn't just a good read, it's an experience. It is an experience, and one that worked because there is so much remembering in it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And one of the things that we remember is our power as creator beings. And if we choose to, it is a choice. You just said it's a choice. And if we choose to believe, beliefs that are serving us, as opposed to the programming. And we live by that and embody it and become that change. It's about becoming the beliefs that are serving us, isn't it? Then the outside world, which is a holographic projection anyway, right? But the outside world does change. It has to, because the outside world is a vibrational match to us. So when we've got that understanding and that peace and that love embodied in us, that has to be reflected back to us, doesn't it?
It really does. And when I learned about the heart math and how our energy from our energy field from our heart is so expansive, and that I really feel like the heart is a type of a portal.
Yes.
And when I go into the now moment, the stillness, that's where I go. I leave here and I move down here where I can breathe, I can think, and I can feel my truth. And that energy that I choose to bring into the now moment is creating that energy field for me, which is absolutely going to impact anything around me.
Definitely, definitely. And it's understanding that, isn't it? That however we're feeling in the now moment is our contribution to the collective. And there's
An
a ripple
important
effect.
contribution.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's beautiful, isn't it? So, what's next for you, can I ask? Is there another book about to come out, or you don't know yet, or what?
I'm just following the energy. And right now, I'm thinking about doing like, I don't really think it would be a blog, but I I don't know if I've told you about my staff meetings. In the morning, I like to get up for sunrise. And the two cats that live with me, we sit outside and have coffee. And from my porch, I can see palm trees. So, of course, there's no ocean anywhere near me. But in my stillness and in my imagination, I go to the ocean. And the traffic sounds a lot like waves to me. So I'm there, I'm at the ocean. And we explore ideas, expand ideas. And some of those have been pretty amazing. And I've been asked, what are you going to do with those, Dawn? You really, think about a way to share it. So I'm thinking about doing something blog like and sharing them because they're fun. They are fun. And they've been so expansive, and I've expanded because of them. And what I've learned is in my staff meetings, the cats, of course, are taking notes all the time, right? But I speak my thoughts out loud. And when I do that, when I just have my thoughts running around in my head, they're, they're there and I can kind of be aware of them. They're kind of like wispy clouds. They just kind of move around and I don't get a clear picture of what they are. But if I'm speaking my thoughts out loud, they really come into form and I can grab a
Embodied.
hold of them. Yeah, so I do that and I capture them on my voice memo on my phone. Because when I write things down, sometimes I get distracted by, did I spell that right?
Mm.
What was that word again? I can't even read it now. So when I speak them into my phone and then I listen back to them, oh, oh, yes. But I'm just free to do that because I'm in the now moment and I can speak and I can hear what's truth and what isn't truth because of the way my body feels, by the way my heart feels. I know that it's truth. So that is really fun. So I'm considering doing something with that.
Definitely, because it's bringing to mind that quote from Pablo Picasso, which I love so much. The meaning of life is to find your gift, and the purpose of life is to give it away. And what you're saying is, when you say it to yourself, not only are you embodying the energy, the frequency of those words and that wisdom coming through,
Mhm.
that's healing you. You said that that expands you, that makes you feel more, in alignment. And so I find that we need to use our gifts or our wisdom or whatever you want to call it, for our own benefit, of course, because on some level there is only us playing this game. But then you've got to share it. You've got to share it with other people. And it's not about choosing the people and telling them they've got to do this or that or the other, because that would be trying to have some control over somebody else's path, right? But the blog is perfect, especially if you like updating your website, like you said. You can put a blog section on, and then people will come when they want, they'll resonate. It will be a frequency thing. And then you get to have, you get to share that expanded feeling. It's part of the ripple effect, isn't it? You get to share that with other people, and lift them as well. Because I do think at this time of the Great Awakening, we are here, to help raise the consciousness level of humanity. And we do it by raising our own.
Yes, yes, yes. As far as like, I believe this so much about speaking our truth, speaking our words out loud, and getting and having a safe space, a container for that. So I have created on conversations, is what I call it, where I can invite people to speak anything on their mind. They can say anything they want. And I'm not there to fix or change them. I'm not a coach. I've been asked that, what kind of coaching do you do? I don't, because I totally believe no one wants to be fixed or changed. They just want to be loved and seen and heard. So I created a space for that, for a conversation for anyone to say, speak, and hear their own truth and discover it for themselves.
That is
I
so
love
lovely.
that.
So this is all on your website, this service.
Yes.
Okay. What is beautiful about that? That's powerful, because what I'm hearing is, well, first of all, we're not trying to fix anybody, but when you have this level of acceptance and non-judgment, which I can feel from you already, you have this complete acceptance of what is and who is, and non-judgment, and there's no judgment around it. And when people can feel that in you, they can feel in your energy that you're not going to judge them and that you're going to accept them, what warts and all. What you're actually doing, this is why it's so powerful, I think, is what you're actually doing is you're holding that space for them to then kind of offload themselves, but they would say things that perhaps they wouldn't say to other people. So if they're offloading their warts and all, what they're actually doing from an energy perspective is they're putting their own light on their own shadow, aren't they? The parts of them, what I get from your energy is that It's so easy for people generally to push the parts of themselves that they don't like away, and that's why we rarely feel that sense of completeness. You use the word completeness for this. We
Mhm.
tend not to get that feeling of completeness, and it's because we've pushed parts of us away, the parts of us that we don't like, um, and that's why, we need to integrate all of that, of course. We need to integrate that shadow. And when you don't judge people and you accept them as they are, and you have these conversations that you're saying, and you're not trying to fix anybody, you're just letting people be who they are, they can put their own light on their own shadow. I think that's
Yes.
priceless. That's absolutely, that's just beautiful, I think, Dawn.
And you were saying it perfectly without the judgment. Because when we come into that alignment with our heart, our mind, our body, our soul, our humanity, and our divinity, and we're leaving everything there, not taking anything out. I mean, my body was the first to go. Okay, everything else is perfect, it's beautiful, but the body, when I allowed for my body, really realizing the magnificence of this human body, what it does, and how fortunate I am to have a human body. When I allowed all that and I had reverence for myself, that's when the judgment and the worthiness bit just dropped off. It doesn't exist there. It can't exist there because of the reverence. But that alignment, you're right. And in that space, we create that entire energy field with that space. So I think that's what it
Mm.
is.
Yeah. And so people are really just transforming themselves because, I mean, it is an energy thing. We know it's an energy thing. It's a frequency experience. That's what Sarah would say, isn't it? It's a frequency
Yes.
experience. I mean, your book is a frequency experience, but I am sure these conversations that you're talking about, it's a frequency experience. And I mean, I can feel the level of love, the power of the love that is in your energy field. And for anybody that's troubled by anything, um, when you enter that field of love, it kind of makes your bottom lip quiver, that kind of feeling. Um, and
Mhm.
yes, it's because you're being seen. But if you're not used to being seen, it can feel really vulnerable. And that again I can see your energy being the perfect energy to hold that space where people um, can face that vulnerability.
And they can be heard because most people that are hiding, uh, I know from experience what that is. You don't want to be heard either because somebody might see you if you are heard. But being heard, speaking your own truth, there is so much freedom in that. So
Yeah,
much freedom.
definitely. And that's exactly what he's doing. This is the tree of truth. And so there is so much truth and authenticity. And a lot of it is
Yes.
your energy is accepting and non-judgmental, but the people that need the conversations are probably not accepting themselves completely, or probably they're judging themselves in some way. Um,
Yes.
and so this authenticity is really important, don't you think?
Yes. I know that's true. That is, I feel that I have so many chills when you said that. That is absolutely true.
Yeah, and of course, this authenticity is nothing stands still, does it? Nothing stands still because we talk about the throat chakra and being authentic and speaking your truth, but the truth is our truth keeps changing because we're evolving and we are remembering more and more truth of who we are. So we do keep stepping into, and it is a spiral, isn't it? Because we just keep stepping into a higher octave, I want to say. That's the word that Paul Selig uses. And I think it's the right word because the universe is all music and maths. So, we're stepping into a higher octave. And so we don't really know what our next spiraling of truth is going to be. So that sort of, but we get to the stage where we trust the process, don't we?
Yes, it absolutely is a spiral. It's not a, our paths are not straight lines going from point A to point B. We come back to the same spot in this spiral, but from a totally different perspective.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's so beautiful.
Yes.
It's so beautiful and so perfect. It's always, I sometimes imagine it like a labyrinth.
I think that's exactly what it is. I think I had an experience like that this morning when I think I'm in a place of peace and tranquility. I certainly love my life. But I had an incident that brought up um, I think it actually brought up, I'm not being heard, or I'm not being taken seriously, or I'm being dismissed, or something like that. I was trying to sort a problem out for my son, with agencies, external agencies, shall we say. And it's all, you can't talk to a human, it's all press one for this, press two for that. And so it's all, and I could feel this, energy kind of building up. And then I just thought that's so unusual for me these days, because in the old days that would have triggered me. But, really, Deborah, are you going to be triggered by this today? And I realized that, yeah, no, I am. I'm going to be triggered. That's okay. I'm going to be triggered by this today. But boy, did I deal with it differently. I just dealt with it so differently than, if it had been 10 years ago or something. And so I think it's this spiral. It's like, again, the worthiness or whatever it might be. Um, there was something coming up. I don't have to question it. I don't have to find the exact point. I just need to be open and receptive to the fact that it was something in a previous version of me and it was coming up for the purpose of being dealt with at a different perspective, at a higher level of consciousness, and
Yes.
without the judgment of the fact that I got triggered. So I think I can see that spiral happening. And it's beautiful because it's almost like you get to see your life get better and better and better. And it's not about avoiding triggers, or it's not about not having these inconveniences or whatever we want to call them. It's about navigating them with ease and grace, isn't it?
It is. And it's about choice. When I realize that every single thought that I think is a choice, I can choose how I think about something in any situation. When I come back to that same spot on the spiral, I can choose to go back to the old thoughts, or I can choose a new thought. I guess that's the way you would call it. I can choose me. I can choose to be in my power. I can choose my sovereignty. I can choose to be authentic. I can choose reverence for myself. I can choose discernment. I can choose to see what is actually there from the perspective of, I've heard recently about the prism. When you look through the perspective is a lens you look through, and you can choose whatever lens you want, a microscope, a telescope, a periscope. But if I was thinking about the prism, everything is there. And when the light shines on it, you can see every spectrum of it. And if I choose that, well, in the now moment, of course, everything is available to me. And if I'm choosing that and choosing to stay in my power, it's a different experience on that spiral of remembering my
Mm,
truth.
definitely. I was thinking kaleidoscope. Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
And but that's him, you see. This is the King of Swords. He's mastered his thoughts. Thoughts are just a story, aren't they?
Mhm.
And it's like choose a better story. So you talk about reverence to yourself and choose yourself. you know, you can choose a different story. Choose a story that expands you rather than a story that contracts you. And people will often say, yeah, but that's not a true story. And it's like, it's up to you to make it true.
But when we go back into those old stories or memories, we're only seeing them from the perspective of where we were when that happened. And then every time we told the story after that, what was that perspective? So it's not the same story because every time, like that telephone game, when you retell it and retell it and retell it, it changes. It's never the same. So create your own,
Yeah.
choose your own.
Choose your own story. Exactly. Choose which, yeah. Choose a happier story, a higher frequency story, I would say, or choose
Yes.
a story that expands you, or a story that's in alignment with your remembering.
Yes. And in every moment, there is a different timeline that we can choose from. And in that moment, if it was in the past, there was always another timeline that we could have chosen. So choose that one.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's not about, when we have a story about the past, we might have a memory. And like you said, the memory is from a different version of us when we weren't as aware of our consciousness or the choices, as you say, available to us. But the problem isn't with the memory, the problem is with the emotion that we have attached to the memory. So if remembering a story brings you a state of contraction, that's because we've attached an emotion to it that is a contracting emotion. So if we can either choose another story or just detach the emotion. And then when we look back at that memory, um, it's neutral. It's not putting us in a state of contraction. It's either neutral, or if we exchange it for a different story, it can expand us. Because I think that at the end of the day, what I get is the idea is to be in a state of expansion as much as possible, because it's that expansion that shows us that we're in alignment with our blueprint.
Yeah, the thoughts we think, the meaning we give those thoughts, and we choose that. We choose the meaning we give those thoughts. That impacts everything. Why not choose the highest, grandest perspective for that thought?
Yeah.
That's where the expansion for me is.
When in your life did you feel, I mean, everyone's different. Some people have like gradual waking up to remembering, if that's the case. And other people have definite experiences, and some people have near-death experiences. I remember talking to a friend of mine, and I was saying, oh, all this sort of uh, like processing of emotions and this journey. I was like, oh, I just want to get off the merry-go-round for a while, and take a break from this, journey or whatever that I'm on. And I remember she turned around and she said, just be grateful that you're getting it in manageable chunks and that you haven't had a near-death experience. And I was like, oh, okay. And I've kept that. So, I'm very gradual with what happens. I mean, I can pinpoint a few experiences that kind of kicked me in the right direction. But what would you say was one of your greatest awakening moments?
I think the thing that really was pivotal for me was around when my son transitioned. My
Yeah.
son shot himself.
Wow.
I had, the knocking at the door at 4 a.m. and the notification process. And the very next day, my house flooded. So, always happening for us, right? What happened was I hired someone to put new floors in the house. best choice I ever made. The man that did it was talking to me about his daughter who had been very ill since birth. She was young already. I mean, right then she was only like 8. But he said, I have always been a victim, had this victim mentality. And I don't know what he said after that. The word victim showed up for me in neon. And I thought, victim, victim. If I'm not a victim, who would I be? I mean, that was my entire identity for almost 70 years. I was a victim and I knew how to do that. I knew what that was. How could I possibly change this? What would my identity be? So that was the one. That was the thing that did that. So all of that happening within just a few days
Wow.
was pivotal for me. Yes.
Do you feel your son on the other side like a guide?
Oh yes. Oh yes. I put him in charge of this conversation with you.
Oh,
He's
that means
he's
he's
my
with Archangel Gabriel, because I always ask Archangel Gabriel, the archangel of channelers and messengers and communicators. So they're probably having a great time
I'm
together.
sure of it. Yes.
Wow. So yeah, that's really, yeah, because we hear about it's one of the topics that I mentioned in this book is the process of growing through grief. And that again is a choice.
It's absolutely a choice. Yes. And the grief, um, as Sarah and the council always say, mm, is only so powerful because of how much love we have.
Of course.
If we didn't know them, love them, or love the experience, whatever it was, there would be no grief. It would be just neutral. But because of the love, that's how the grief impacts us so deeply but of the love.
And but I think this is where our level of consciousness is um I want to say our salvation, but that sounds a little bit uh like a bit serious, doesn't it? But I do think so. There's a book called Love, Medicine and Miracles written by Bernie Siegel, and he studied a load of cancer patients, and he wanted to know why some survived and some didn't. And he was really investigating it because there didn't seem to be any rhyme or reason. And what he said, and it's quite harsh really, but he said, when you have an emotional trauma, you're going to grow. Whether you grow spiritually or whether you grow a tumor, the choice is yours. And as an emotion code practitioner, I have to say I agree with that. And you do hear about people um, who don't get over their grief and are a victim. You said it about victim status. That's why the guy doing the floor was so pivotal for you in that moment, because you could have been a victim to the circumstances, but you that's when you stepped out of victimhood. And I think I haven't experienced grief on the scale that you have, but I have experienced some level of grief. And for me, I felt that I let I that's when I learned that I am my higher self. And I remember allowing Deborah. I started talking about Deborah as in the third person, like she was a child, not in a condescending way, but a child of God or what have you, because Deborah needed to cry and let the emotion out. But I remember observing her on the kitchen floor, crying like a baby. And I was holding space for her, not dissimilar to the way you hold space for people that are having your conversations. Um, and I was able to really process that, but I was doing it from an expanded state of love and awareness. And I think that's the pivotal point. If you're grieving from a state of victimhood and contraction, blame, guilt, whatever it might be, fear, all of that. Um, that's when I think, things don't go so well, maybe. But when you can grieve, because as you say, it's a form of love. I mean, grief is love
Yes.
in
Yes.
a different form. And when you can perceive it that way and allow yourself to process it, however the child, like because until that point, I kind of used to beat Deborah up a little bit, like, criticize her and stuff like that. And but after that experience, you know, I realized that we just need to hold space for our humans, because our humans don't know a lot with our limited human minds and our limited, physical senses. A bit like a child, but we don't reprimand a child for not knowing something. We don't reprimand a child for for asking for love, do we? And so for me, it was the same thing. And my whole perception was around that, the I, myself, and me, or whatever they say. Who is I? Is it Deborah, or is it the I, you know, coming through, the eye of the remembering or whatever it is. But
Yes.
somewhere along the line, we are multidimensional beings. So it's kind of whatever higher dimensional part of me, just sort of holding that space, and allowing, but doing so from this level of consciousness, from this perspective. That's why he's seeing things from a different perspective. And that's why I think it's so important. It doesn't take the grief away, but it adds to the expansion. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. You're seeing grief as love
Yeah.
instead of something horrible. You're seeing it just as another aspect of love because we know they're always right here.
Yeah. Wow.
Nothing's ever lost. It's all energy. And energy can change forms, but it's never gone.
It's beautiful, actually, isn't it? There's something really beautiful. I think it's you. I'm sitting here feeling this beautiful feeling, so it's really beautiful, isn't it? And I'm like, oh no, it's dawn. Wow. Thank you for sharing that, because that was, yeah, really powerful and beautiful. And I think it's so relevant for so many people, that are navigating these experiences in life.
Yes. Yes. It's love. There is only love.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dawn. Is there anything else that you want to say or share, before we say goodbye?
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you.
No, thank
Thank you for
you.
allowing this. Thank you for everything. This has been just a very beautiful experience, and I really appreciate this time with you. I
Well,
love seeing your energy. It's beautiful.
well, ditto, ditto, mirror. That's what they say, isn't it? Mirror, mirror
Yes,
on the
yes,
wall.
yes.
Um, yeah, I'm going to put your website link and your book links and yeah, just so that you can share your beautiful wisdom and your remembering and help others find their own remembering.
It is so fun to find your own truth, to remember your own truth. It is so fun. There's so much freedom in that. There's so much expansion, and it's just fun.
Yeah,
And that's why we're here to have fun.
yeah. Follow your fun.
Yes.
Follow your fun with Dawn Smith. Follow your fun. That's what I would say. Follow your fun. Thank you so much, Dawn. I really,
Oh,
really
thank you,
appreciate
Deborah.
you saying yes, coming to play with me today.
It
And
was choiceless.
but we could do it again. We can do it again, when the energies tell us. And yeah, I want to say
I'd love to.
keep up the good work. It's just it's powerful. Yeah. I knew I did the right thing by asking you to come on. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
for showing me about tarot. I don't know a lot about tarot, and that was beautiful. It
Well,
felt perfect.
it
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 felt
it
perfect.
yes. Well, for me, tarot does that. For me, tarot reflects the energies and the situation perfectly, and I think it really did. It's the choose a better story, embody it because it's physical manifestation, the different perspective, and your tree of truth, and letting energy, letting movement flow, choicelessly, effortlessly. And there's your completion. The world is your oyster
Yes,
and the universe is our playground. That's exactly what we were saying. So yeah, the cards were spot on for us. Anyway. So I want to
absolutely.
thank you again, lovely Dawn, and I want to thank anyone who has got to the end of the video. So please like, share, and do all those YouTubey things that I always forget to say. And see you in the next video. Lots of love. Bye to everybody.